Hey, good evening. Welcome. It's 9 o'clock, or well, it's almost 9 o'clock, right? Spread the word that we're on this evening on Straight Up 107.1 FM. Those of you who are listening to us on the ground via your radio, let us know in the comment section. Well, of course, if you're listening, and you can quickly go on the comment section on our Facebook page, let us know how the quality is because we want to improve on that quality on the ground, right? We want to ensure that you guys are hearing us loud and clear on the ground because 107.1 FM actually broadcast on the ground. Should be all around Georgetown, outside the outskirts of Georgetown, and so forth and so on. We have our guest this evening. We have a packed program, and we have 1 hour, of which we should get all of those things and information and everything up and running. We'll be right back with Straight Up. Good evening to all of you.
She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cock-a-crow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cock-a-crow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Cock-a-crow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day a back down, me now I come home. Inaga, jackass yard for fetch the load. Cockle Cheyenne, bag over shoulder, running by his side. A Rexy and Rover, from the farm, them a come. Sun a go down but up the river. Some washing clothes, some folks are bathing at the water. Fisherman, they catch them a bring. From a canoe boat, man, them start offloading. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Lokonani. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Bangameri. Listen to this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. Them children glad when the weekend come. Out in the yard, them all gather round. Some a play catcher, some making house from straw. Two who come later, a grandma or grandpa. All a sit down just a wait. Moonlight so bright, it's just the right time to listen story or to say.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street, in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins Firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins Firm,
All right. Hey, guess what? We're about to start on 107.1 FM. Good evening to all of you. And what is it we have here? We have three guests. We're going to knock a couple of them out as quickly as possible. They're all not going to be long. As our main guest, though, we'd like to say all of our guests are special. But our main guest this evening is no other than the former Prime Minister of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, also the former mayor, the longest serving mayor of Georgetown. I repeat. Anyways, he took my job a couple of years ago. He wasn't coming out of the seat. I'll ask him about that again. Mr. Hamilton Green is with us this evening. Do share the link. We thank you so much. Serious talk show you're on to. And for those of you who are on the ground listening to us by in your vehicles or wherever you are via 107.1 FM. Good evening to all of you. So where do we begin? Who do we begin with? Let us begin quickly with this first guest, Rayana Lewis. Rayana Lewis. She is with us this evening. Miss Lewis, how are you doing? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
All right, good to have you. Quickly, before we get into a couple of minutes as to why you're really on this show this evening, it's for a good cause. Give us a quick background as to who Rayana Lewis is, please.
Rayana Lewis is a former teacher, a current employee of the National Data Management Authority. I hold a diploma in Spanish, a diploma in Portuguese, a diploma in public management, a degree in international relations, and I'm about to pursue my master's in public policy and administration.
All right. Sounds to me that you should have been one of the candidates for the PNCR. Oh, sorry. Because, some of these candidates love to talk about their academic credentials and so forth, as though that is the only requirement. But glad that you have summed that up in a nutshell. Let's quickly talk about why you're here tonight for a few minutes. I have invited you to talk about this program that you have, which it has already started since October 9th. Congratulations. Right. It says here, lessons are free of cost for CXC students. Explain the reason behind this. And it's in the East Rumvelt, Georgetown area, Mango Lane. Tell our listeners why this and what it's about.
Well, since the COVID pandemic began, a lot of students have been out of school. The online classes, I've had students complaining that they don't focus, the internet connection is bad, and so on. Apart from that, of course, the pandemic brought financial constraints on parents. So I decided that as a teacher, I can offer CXC classes to students free of cost. I would have reached out on social media, and other teachers offered to volunteer their time also to come and teach the student. The aim is to give every student who attend our class a fighting chance at passing CXC. It's not difficult, but I know as a teenager, there with so many distractions. So we would just like to, educate and help them in any way that we can so that they can just pass these subjects. In a nutshell.
So it's kind of like folks within the community coming together to do something to help kids in the community. That's what it's about.
Yes, in a way, but it's not limited to East Rumvelt community. Yeah. Any student from any school in any park, once they can make the lesson, they're more than welcome to join us.
And this is free.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's free of cost. Yes, so we have a teacher coming all the way from the East Bank to teach in East Rumvelt.
All right, and this is to prepare the kids them for CXC.
For CXC next year, CXC 2022.
Yeah,
correct.
And the minimum amount of subjects those kids can write are allowed to write is 5, right?
5 subjects, correct.
Yeah. Have you been able to get what's the cost of one subject?
Well, based on what I just find out, the first subject will cost $8,300, and every subject after that will cost $4,700.
Okay, and the minimum amount of subjects that they can write is 5.
5 subjects.
All right. I hope, because they have a lot of talented kids, sometimes their parents can't afford to have them write some subjects and so forth and so on. But remind me later, because through the Ben Sharp Foundation, we would like to sponsor at least 2 kids who are writing the CXC subjects, at least 2. And please do remind me later. But I'm sure that there are other there are folks out there who would love to do something, because it takes a village to raise a child, and we are all part of that village. Hence, it makes us all villagers. What are the contact numbers if people want to, or maybe teachers who are watching this program here tonight?
Okay, they can contact me on 681-1803, or they can contact Melissa Koch on 603-9887.
All right, the numbers are there. We will be carrying this flyer for a couple of more days right here on 107.1 FM. Let me take the time to congratulate you and congratulate the other teachers. Nothing is wrong with volunteering time. 1 hour, 2 hours. If there are teachers out there who are watching this program and they reside in that particular area, east from Velt, west, or wherever in Georgetown, give back. This is how you give back. And if I were a teacher, trust me, I would have been giving back. Be right there in that classroom. Congratulations to you, because it takes a village. It takes a village. Anything else before we go that you'd want to talk about?
Yeah, just to emphasize, I'm urgently in need of a mathematics teacher. This is the most urgent need that we have right now. So if you're a maths teacher and you can volunteer an hour or 2 on the weekend, please reach out to me.
All right. If you are a math teacher, I'm not sure. We have a former prime minister, former mayors on with us this evening. Do you know anything about math, Mr. Mayor?
Not at all. I'm not in the teaching profession, and I don't want to venture in an area after leaving school for so many years.
Maybe one of these days you can
Because
drop by
things have
and talk some.
Techniques have changed, and the curriculum is quite different. In my days, maths meant algebra, geometry, and arithmetic.
All right. By the way, Miss Lewis, today happens to be the former prime minister, former mayor, the longest serving mayor of Georgetown. Today happens to be his 18th or 17th birth anniversary.
And tomorrow's my wedding anniversary.
Oh, so today is your birth anniversary. Happy birthday to you, and you have this young lady, Miss Lewis.
My birthday tomorrow's my wedding anniversary.
Your wedding anniversary. Yes.
Happy birthday to you. Well, very long life. You already have that, so more long.
Thank you very much.
It should be more long.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Miss Lewis. Appreciate it, and best wishes.
Yeah, thank you.
You're hearing from us. Bye-bye. All right. We have the former mayor with us this evening. It's his birthday, so he will be rocking and rolling with us for as long as he wants throughout this 1 hour program. We also have the Member of Parliament, Dinesh Jaiprashad, with us. Good evening to you, Honorable MP. Good evening to you, or Mr. Hamilton Green. How are you guys doing?
Good evening. I'm going good. Nice to see Mr. Mayor, former mayor there. Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if tonight happens to be. I see the Honorable MP is wearing purple, or am I?
No, it's a little dark blue, but
A little dark
I was
blue.
I was scheduled to use a purple background, but I change.
Yeah. Purple tie, purple shirt. Mr. Hamilton Green, how are you spending the birthday so far, sir?
Excellent. In fact, one of my godsons, Dr. Michael Sue, who lives abroad, organized a surprise luncheon with me with connivance of my wife. So I came in from an assignment, and there they had everything well laid out, and it was quite a bit of a surprise.
What a surprise indeed. And again, I must say that I'm happy that you have taken time out of your busy schedule, especially on this special day, to spend some time with us here at 107.1.
Well, I've just finished an hour with my 11 children. The last girl organized them. So they were there all together and using technology. One girl is in Antigua, 2 kids are in Atlanta, 1 in California, 1 in Texas, 1 in New Jersey, 1 in Manhattan. So they all got together there, and it was an exciting time for me.
Exciting indeed. The younger one, please do give her my regards.
Yes.
Do give her that. How is she doing in school, by the way? Okay.
Not bad. She's studying now some technology. I'm not too clear about it. Something with computers and that kind of thing. So she's working and studying at this moment, and she's in New Jersey at the moment.
Okay, good. I recall
the program
Yeah.
with the kids from Jamaica, as I said, all over the place. Jamaica, Antigua, US, etc., etc.
I recall when she was younger, and I was doing taxi work for you when Suba took away your vehicle or something like that, and you called me to give you a ride. And I think we were moving around in some car of yours, or you picked me up or something. And she asked me, Mr. Benchop, what is that in that black bag, that black plastic bag? I said, jail clothes. Jail clothes. I'm always ready. Jail clothes. Again, give her my regards. Let's go over to
I certainly will.
Member of Parliament, Honorable MP. How have you been, and what's going on in your region, sir? Give us the 411.
Good night again, and to all the viewers, listeners everywhere. Thank you for tuning in. Please share the link and spread the word so that we can be able to reach as many people as we can. It's a privilege to sit on the same platform with former Prime Minister, former Mayor, Mr. Hamilton Green. Sir, good night to you. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary and best wishes. Ensure that you pass down the blessings so that we young people can live up to the senior age. I don't want to say old, but the senior and mature age that you are enjoying now. As a youth, I look at you while you were at your peak, performing duty as Prime Minister and Mayor. So, hats off to you. Thank you for your service for the Cooperative Republic. You have done well, and we know that the young people listening to this program, will say that yes, you have done your part, and Guyana is always indebted to you. So, thank you. I feel a sense of achievement to sit with Mark. Thank you for affording me the opportunity that I can sit. So basically, for Region 6, we have had some bad things happening. We see that COVID is on the rise, crime is on the rise, maternal death at the New Amsterdam Hospital on the rise, and basically things not happening good for us in Region number 6. Sooner rather than later, the floods will be back on us because we are not seeing any drainage or irrigation work being done by the RDC, NDC. A few that is being done are just topped up, and we know that December, January rain will come again as customary, and the people, we are not prepared for this. So if you want me to touch on any specific area, you can, identify and we can take it that.
All right. We will get to you in just a minute. Let's get back to the birthday man this evening, the Honorable Hamilton Green, with us on his birth anniversary. People are asking how old you are. I'm not going to be letting the cat out of the bag. I'm not going to be saying, but what I can say is that Mr. Hamilton Green looks good for his age. I'm not going to say whether you're 86, 87, 88, 89, or whatever. It's up to you. What do you do?
My age is no secret. I'm 87 today.
I knew that, and we all knew that. 87. What do you do to keep yourself fit and looking as young as you're looking?
Well, my wife is in charge of that department, keeping me.
I expected that. I expected that. I expected that response from you, Mr. Hamilton Green. As you look around the country, what's happening? $9 billion plus. $9 billion plus taxpayers have to pay those executives at ExxonMobil. $9 billion plus for them to travel, for them to fly in and out the country, for them to eat, for them to wine, for them to dine, for them to bring in duty-free vehicles and all these different things. On your birth night, how does that make you feel? A country that's supposed to be so rich with oil, but we are not enjoying it. The citizens aren't.
It is very worrisome. And I will repeat it this evening. Those who are intelligent and possess any intellectual strength must learn from history. These oil giants haven't come here out of love. They've come here to exploit, and I use the word deliberately and perhaps not in its pejorative term, our resources, and they get the hog share. In Africa, Latin America, and even in North America, the story is consistently the same. I have proposed on two issues that the government and the opposition put aside their differences, the pettiness, and get together so that we optimize what is there for the people of Ghana. These two things are: one, how to deal with COVID. That's a serious matter. And pari passu, climate change. And the second issue, how to deal with oil and gas and these Goliaths. Because the imperial mantra, which my foreparents experienced as slaves and manumitted Africans and immigrants who came to this part of the world, is the issue of divide and rule. And unless the major groups, whether it be political grouping, ethnic grouping, sit down and understand that they've got to talk together so that when they go to these giants, they speak with one voice. If, as we have this polarization in this country, unless the coalition or the PPP in office, neither can speak for the majority of Guyanese. And these people know that. But if these young political leaders have any good sense, they would accept the proposal I've made some time ago to sit down and work out an agenda so that whether it's the government or the opposition and they speak to the oil giants, they speak on behalf of 95+% of the people of Ghana, and those giants will have to listen and make compromises so that we, the ordinary people of this country, are the major beneficiaries of this bounty given to us by the Creator. That is my position. That is my message. That is my sermon I've been giving over the past several months.
And well said. And we all should adhere to that. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Green. $9-point-something billion. It simply means, listeners, that your tax dollars have to fund these guys from ExxonMobil and other oil companies. You guys have to fund it. The tax dollars have to fund. We have to fund these guys. If they travel back and forth 2 days per week or whatever, to come back to the U.S., go back to Guyana, to go anywhere, you guys pay that. The taxpayers pay for them. If they walk into the Marriott or wherever they're staying, you guys pay for that. If they have to eat, you guys pay for that. If they go and spend money at Maroon Bar, you guys pay for that. Wherever they go, you guys pay for that. And that bill is over $9 billion. Do you know what $9 billion is? I don't know.
And that is translated as local content.
Exactly. Mr.
But
MP.
Mark, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Prime Minister. Go ahead, sir.
What we see happening today is not new. It happened with sugar, bauxite. And I'm a little disappointed that our purported leaders don't pause to learn the lessons available from our own history of imperial and colonial domination. It's a little surprising, it's a sad and sorry situation. But last evening on a program with young Ram Karan, he was very despondent. I said, I remain optimistic that this new generation will push our leaders on both sides of the decide to be sensible and to make this country wealthy. What we have out of the ground. And you know, we've heard the vice president say we must pump all the oil. I have my own take on that, but I'm not a scientific person. But the amount of money that ought to come to us, we should be able to eradicate poverty within a few months and provide credible education for every boy and girl in this country, an up-to-date health service, recreation facilities, and an opportunity for people to mix in this country. And last night, I was asked the question, what we can do. I said the first thing to do is to replace what is happening today in the educational system and reintroduce national service. National service brought people of different cultures, if you may use that term, together. And I've spoken to people from national service, and they all benefited from it. That's the first thing we need to do. I told the other speaker on the panel last night, these constitutional changes are merely cosmetic. The change has to come from within. And that can only come from a new orientation, a new understanding of who we are, where we came from. And our history must be told boldly and truthfully. Too many persons want to avoid the horrors of our history. And we have a situation where the manumitted Africans seem not to be able to use their suffering as a political fund. And this is one problem we have. But these are matters that I'm leading discussions on quietly, and I hope to prevail upon the young people, particularly those in leadership roles in Parliament. They've got to step forward to save this country, or else we face the chance of being re-enslaved. And that, my friend, is not an exaggeration.
Certainly, it isn't an exaggeration. 29 minutes after 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 29 minutes after if you are in beautiful Guyana. Good evening to all of you, wherever you are. Mr. Hamilton Green, former Prime Minister, former Mayor of Georgetown, former Minister of Public Works. Is that correct?
Correct.
Gosh.
Works hydraulics and supply in those days.
Gosh, who is celebrating his 87th birth anniversary. Just a couple of years older than me. 87th birth anniversary. Thank you so much for that bit of information. We'll get back to Mr. Hamilton Green in just a moment. Let's go over to the Honorable Member of Parliament, Dinesh Jai Prashad. What's your take on that over $9-point-something billion that taxpayers got to pay back to the ExxonMobil, their executives?
Thank you very much, Mark. It's very sad that we, the poor people of this country, continues to suffer at the hands of these rich cronies. I am seeing this 9 billion as remedy to save us here in Guyana. I am originally in education, spent 25 years serving the education ministry. And this 9 billion, 1 billion can make us have free transportation in this country for our school children. So you see, this government is not thinking about the poor people. The few rich people who afford it can pay the taxi for the children to go to school. But the poor people will have to stand up on the roadside and flag down the hire car and the minibuses and so forth. So I am saying that $1 billion from this 9 billion could have been given to each region, 100 million each. 100 million make 1 billion. We have 10 administrative regions. Give each region 100 million. We buy 10 big buses. We put it out there. Our children are safe. They go together to school. They are protected in these public transportation that is being provided, and less injury and casualty on the road. We know that when we put them into the buses, they reach their destination. And another billion can be used for meals in school. We are not talking about 100,000 a year mark. We are talking about billions of dollars. And the poor man,
we're not talking, and we are talking about billions of US dollars.
Good. And the thing is that the poor man
could build 2 or 3 state-of-the-art schools in every region, including Linden right now, where the contractors, good evening to the contractors, they got $346 million to build a school. Just imagine that 9-point-something billion US, what it could have done.
That's it.
Go ahead.
Well, you see, you're reading my mind to it. I was coming to that. This 9 billion, another billion could have been used to build a multi-purpose center, school in each region. So there is no need for us to run to another region to equip our and you see, when the Local Government Act was designed, the former Prime Minister is here. During his time, that came into being, the Act of 1980, whereby each region,
the LCLDO, local government, or no, National Democratic Organ, or something like that. The NCLDO, is that what it is, Mr. Hamilton Green? You seem to be sharper than all of us.
I'm not too sure what aspect of the legislation he's referring to, but the idea
whereby each region
was to devolve from the center a level of authority similar to what was tried in the mid-70s when we had the regional system first introduced. We had regional chairmen who had ministerial authority. The idea was to make democracy viable and to decentralize authority and decision-making so that the ordinary people in the respective districts, villages, will have a say, in what money is spent, how it is spent, and what are the priorities for the respective communities. At the same time, involving ordinary people so that you don't wake up one day and see a school or something going up and you don't know what is all about. So this is the idea, the philosophical underpinning of that legislation.
And they're not concerned, this current regime is not concerned about consultations. A few decades ago, you're talking about the NCLDO, which is the National Congress of Local Democratic Organs, which gives the community, the regions, that opportunity to make decisions that are important to them, whether it's schools, whether it's health centers, whatever it is, and their local democratic organs. The PPP has snatched all of that away from the people. That is because they do not believe in democracy. Now, before we get back to the Honorable MP, let's go back to my good friend, the birthday boy for this evening. And I say boy not to be in any disrespectful manner to our Honorable former Prime Minister and Mayor. How much do you blame, not just the PPP, for what is going on right now with the ExxonMobil and the waste of taxpayers' money by that oil giant? How much do you blame the now opposition coalition for that as well?
The blame, to me, rests with both political groupings. I think the government that I supported between 15 and 20 made some missteps, which started before 2015. The present environment and the present government, in spite of their critiques, seem to be going along the same path. And I'm satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that the statement I made earlier, that unless the representatives of these two political groupings sit down and speak with one voice, we will remain in deep trouble. And I'm not being a pessimist. One has only look around Latin America, Africa, and other countries to see the tragedy that took place. Our neighbors next door helped us for years. But all of a sudden, thanks to the combination of certain big powers and the oil giants, thousands are fleeing from Venezuela every day. And it was the reverse a decade ago. So our politicians don't need to look too far for guidance. But I suspect they lack the intellectual stimulation to learn from lessons available. And this is my worry. And in fact, this is my campaign right now, to persuade all sides to sit and talk and find a modus vivendi. That is my response to your question. And there's no other way. Last night we discussed with Ralph Ramkaran. He raised the question of structures and, laws. Laws don't mean anything to people who are obtuse and stubborn. And I reminded him then, as I remember our history, the great United States, which is decorated as being the bastion of democracy. In 1776, I reminded him, they said, we hold these rights to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, etc., etc. And yet, there were Jim Crow laws. Black people had to sit at the back of a bus when they crossed the Mason-Dixon line. And had it not been for the work of Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, and some presidents like Kennedy, today blacks would not have occupied positions that they hold in the United States. And the same goes for Europe and other countries. So that what I said to my friend last night, don't bother too much about massaging laws and regulations. Let's deal with the minds of people and put in place things like national service so young people can meet and leave those institutions understanding that the boy and girl from Curtin, the boy and girl from the Northwest, Georgetown, Buxton, Linden, they're all Guyanese. Unless we work together, we will not win that prize that God has given to us.
The funny thing is, though, Ralph Ramkaran, I suppose you're speaking of Ralph Ramkaran, the senior counsel.
Yes.
The man who was the former Speaker of the National Assembly.
Same person.
The man who denied the rights of the opposition to speak, to have that voice in the National Assembly. The man who didn't have much regards for laws then. The man who didn't know that the laws of the country and the constitution of the country was that important then when he was Speaker of the National Assembly. This is the same man who had total disregard for democracy in the National Assembly. This is the same man who made probably hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts whilst the PPP was in office for 23 years. He didn't have any say about the laws and people understanding the laws of the country. But this is the same man who now pretends to want to
I was
reach
very
out.
kind to him last night.
You are kind to him, but I'm not going to be
aspect
kind
of
to
his
him,
life.
Mr. Hamilton Green. I am not going to be kind to him at all. I know Ralph, outside of my personal views, in terms of my political views, I think he's okay. But I'm speaking politically here, that he's a hypocrite. That is all. That's my take, Mr. Hamilton Green. I don't know how you can sit on the same program and not tell him that he's a hypocrite. Do you recall what he did when he was in the National Assembly? Everything for the opposition, he shut down, shut down, shut down, shut down, shut down, shut down. I don't know, man. It's like, I don't know, Mr. Green. I don't know how you can take Mr. Ralph Ramper.
Well, I was very diplomatic last night and made the point that those laws can be breached by persons who control the system. And that is the point I made. And I think he took the point when he admitted certain misgivings about the present government and the question of consultation. You know, the present government has made this question of consultation into a joke. When you become the government, you can't behave like a spoiled child and be so puerile to tell the opposition you must go on your knees and accept me as being legitimate. That is childish, it is foolish, it's inconsistent with the norms of a democracy.
They don't know better, Mr. Hamilton Green. We can't expect better from them. They're accustomed to saying things go on knees and probably going on their knees, politically speaking. But I was just referencing about Mr. Ralph Ramkaran and his hypocrisy. You've mentioned young Ramkaran as well, I do recall. Young Ralph Ramkaran also has no saying, he should not have any say when it comes to the laws of the country, because he, as president of the Guyana Bar Association, on two occasions, they weren't concerned about the laws of the country and ensuring that people's rights are respected, for ensuring that lawyers do what is necessary in terms of from an ethical standpoint. They weren't concerned about that. But during Ralph Ramkaran's son's stint as president of the Guyana Bar Association, it was deeply political. They were batting for the PPP. They were all concerned about that. It wasn't about laws of the country. Now, suddenly, it's all about laws. They want to pretend as though they believe in the laws. They want to pretend as though they believe in the Constitution. And I have seen there is some new group organization that is out that's called something Constitution, Article 13, with a bunch of people who didn't care about the goddamn Constitution before.
Exactly.
Mr. Hamilton Green, you have a lot of patience, man. Let's go over back to the Honorable MP, Dinesh Jaiprashad.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was not finished. I was not finished with the 9 billion, right?
My apologies. Go ahead.
Yeah, the people needs to know that this $9 billion could have been used to fix our country up to an extent.
$9 billion US dollars. $9 billion US
right.
dollars.
So all public servants could have received 15% increase everywhere. Education, free transportation, free lunch, technical facilities, technical schools set up in each region. When I say technical school, I mean multi-purpose centers. We could have some halfway homes, shelter for battered women, abuse victims. So when you want to help poor people, you will think twice about sending off your taxpayer money to these fat cats. And you will utilize this money into ensuring that facilities, infrastructure, and systems are put in place so that the poor people will benefit. And we know that the PPP is not inclined of helping the poor. We see what is happening to the sugar workers. We see what is happening to public servants. It has been 2 budgets and no increase. And when it was the campaign trail, you're going to get 50%. So basically, we are seeing here that a poor man continues to feel the blunt of the taxes. Cost of living, the economic situation in this country is getting from bad to worse. And no one is saying anything. No one is saying anything. I am happy that former PM made mention about Mr. Ralph. We know that he was so bitter with the same party that he was with, the PPP, that he formed his own party and contested the general election. So these guys, kind of jump from here, there, and everywhere, and claim that they have know what the law is and want to follow democracy. But anyone who is associated with the PPP knows that democracy on paper means something different as to what the PPP are doing. It is a two-phase democracy in this country. Democracy for some and no democracy for the others.
It's a facade. It's basically fake. It's propaganda. They pretend as though they believe in freedom of speech. They pretend as though they believe in democracy. They pretend they're a bunch of pretenders. Great pretenders. Was it Teddy Pendergrass? Do you know those oldies, Mr. Hamilton Green? Teddy Pendergrass. I am the great pretender. Someone of our listeners. I don't know who it is, man, but. But let me ask you this. Go ahead, Mr. Green. You're about to say something.
No, I said that the MP is right, but I repeat what I said earlier. In 1953, our intellectual giant and leader, Forbes Burnham, opted for the Ministry of Education because he understood the importance of an educational system which brought together people, not artificially, but in a real, sustained way, so that the children of this country will grow up without the prejudices we inherited from our erstwhile colonial masters. And this is where vast sums ought to be expended, not building schools, but building the human infrastructure in the form of teachers, laboratories, playing grounds. I said once, every school in this country should have a music teacher and some pianoforte or some musical instrument, so children grow up cultured, not as we have today, trying to get X subjects which they think is the beginning and end of it. Out of our primary and secondary schools, by a good program, we should produce rounded citizens, unselfish, and understanding that the purpose of education is to prepare them for service to this country, to vindicate the suffering of the slave and indentured ancestors, and to be part of a new and exciting world where Guyana can be one of the richest countries in this region.
Mr. Hamilton Green, back in 1953, I'm sure a lot of people, especially young people, would know or ought to know by now that Mr. Forbes Burnham, who was also the founder, one of the founders of the People's Progressive Party, he was actually, his portfolio was Minister of Education. And in his speech to the nation, he outlined almost the identical things that you just said in terms of the importance of education to the nation, not for one group of people, but for all Guyanese. Thanks for that reminder. I should remind our people also that apart from being one of the founders of the PPP, Forbes Burnham, as you have mentioned, Mr. Green, was the Minister of Education. He was also mayor of Georgetown.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the mayor of Georgetown as well, premier of British Guyana, prime minister, and then he went on after the changing of the constitution. After the changing of the constitution, executive president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Yes. Lyndon Forbes.
That's correct.
Sampson Burnham.
Mark, you forget one part.
Impeccable.
Yeah. What part? Go ahead, Mr.
He was the chairman of the PPP.
Yeah, also one of the founders of the PPP. Thank you so much. Lots of history in one bucket, so to speak. Now, before we get back to Mr. MP, because you were supposed to host your own program this evening, but I've invited you to be on with us this evening. Mr. Green, good. There we go. You were at one time the youngest, and probably still to this day, the youngest General Secretary of the People's National Congress. What was that like? And what were some of the things that you were responsible for within the party?
It was a challenge of monumental proportions. Because at that time, you had the old guard who felt that young people couldn't take charge of the secretariat of a party that was fighting against an arch enemy then in the context of the Cold War and at the same time to gain independence. It was a tremendous challenge. I wasn't married. I had the support of my family. I was committed. Even if I say so, I was bold, fearless, mobilized people in all the key areas in this country. And I worked some days 16, 17, 18 hours per day. And I pray God that at the next turn of events in the party, we find someone who has that stimulation, that vigor, that commitment to guide the party out of what appears to be troubled waters into a safe haven and victory for our people.
And that is what you did. I've noted that Rene Paris, good evening to you, Mr. Paris. And I see that a lot of people know their oldies and the platters and all these different things. I can't recall, were you 28 or somewhere around 24 when you became General Secretary?
I became General Secretary in 62. That means I was, 28.
28. Whoever Rene Paris is, I don't know. We've got to give him an award this evening. Thank you so much, Rene, for that. Let me ask you this here, sir. And our honorable MP would understand because tonight is your birth anniversary. We want to tonight is your night. And if the honorable MP has a question for Mr. Hamilton Green, feel free to step in also. Let us have a conversation amongst ourselves and the listeners. But it's Mr. Green's night. Leading up to Congress, what were some of your responsibilities as General Secretary?
In those days?
In those days, yes.
First of all, my responsibility was to ensure that all the groups, and in those days, Joshua alone had 40 groups, that they were well represented, that the Congress delegates reflected the membership. We made arrangements for them to get to Georgetown, those who lived out of Georgetown, and ensure that the papers, documents, and motions were available in time for the start of Congress. And of course, as has always happened, the main event was the leader's address, where he identified the next stage of the struggle, and most importantly, the duties of each and every party member in each and every part of Guyana. And my responsibility was to harmonize all of those things and to ensure that the financial resources were available and that we had in those days very, very strong people. And I must give credit to the women of the party. The women were stalwarts in the party. And I don't think the party has yet given the women in those days, those bold, courageous women, even in the face of difficulty. I remember when the police were lobbing tear smoke in the 60s. Elsie Skeet from Agricola ripped off her skirt, caught a tear smoke, and lobbed it back to the police contingent. McGill Smith, the white superintendent, was amazed, and he looked at his face. He couldn't understand what he was seeing. But this is an ordinary woman who lobbed back a tear smoke at the police. I was present. And we need that kind of courageous people back to face the challenge we have today in the form of people who think that they can replace the imperial master and put certain people back in their place, and to have this cosmetic arrangement that Ralph Ramkrant talked about last night.
Yeah,
We need to go beyond that.
beyond that, indeed, your party, the PNC, and the Constitution has, I think, about 24 pages, right? Section 9, pardon me?
Well, again, I am not too involved in the purported or proposed upcoming Congress.
No, I wasn't referencing about that, but just one quick second, Mr. Green. The Constitution for the PNCR has about maybe 24 pages or so. There's a section 19 of that Constitution that talks about the leader, right? And I think young Ronald Austin Jr. actually wrote about Maxim Leader. Do you think that there was, Ronald Austin Jr.?
Yes.
He spoke about that leader. Do you think that during your time, actively involved, when you were actively involved in the party, that anyone could have challenged the leader, who was then Forbes Burnham?
Well, I say to Guyanese, at home and abroad, Burnham was a man set apart from the rest of us human beings. He was just an extraordinarily talented man, had a vision for this country. And on that question you just asked, yes, Rolf Farley came to this country because we had difficulties at the time with the looming oil crisis. And he thought he could challenge the leadership of the party. So there were challenges, but it didn't last for more than a few days, because very soon, those same ladies I talked about made it very clear that the founder leader cannot be replaced, particularly by people who didn't face the brunt of the colonial assault, and at that time, the PPP's appendage process. So yeah, he was challenged, but as said, he had around him some strong, solid young people, including yours truly. And as I said, you can't compare any other leader to Burnham. And I think even the PPP accept the magnitude and the magnificence of Forbes Burnham.
All right, well said. I thought it was a nice piece written by Ronald Austin Jr. in the Village Voice. Folks, you should pick up a copy of that. A brilliant young man. Maybe we should have him on sometime on this show pretty soon to talk about that as well. Maybe.
Yeah, he's done some good work.
Oh, yes. Ronald Austin Jr. Seemed to have taken after his father, Ronald Austin Sr., a brilliant diplomat back in those days, someone that you're familiar with, Mr. Green. Let's go back to the quarantine. The Honorable MP. You guys are preparing for the Congress. How convinced are you that this process will be democratic enough that after the date, which is set for December 11, that parties, whether they have won or lost, especially those who lose, that everyone will walk away with a sense of satisfaction and not any bickering and big fighting and so forth? How convinced are you, sir, MP?
I'm very much convinced, and I must say that I'm very much grateful that you posed that question. You see what happened in the PNC. I'm a young PNC member, and the PNC has been a democratic party since its origin. We have had this kind of dialogue and debates and democracy in the party, whereby leaders are given freedom to contest for any position at the helm of the party. In comparison, there are some other parties who dictate who be what. But the PNC, because of the understanding of democracy and the ability to cause people to choose who they want to be the leader, PNC give them that opportunity to do so. I am saying the PNC is a great movement. It is not only a party, but it is the only party in Guyana that brings in people from all walks of life. We have 3 persons contesting the leadership of the party. These are all 3 stalwarts in the PNC. We don't have a problem with them.
Let me say
Whoever
something.
wins this,
Let me say something, Mr. MP.
yes, sir.
3 persons have declared their intention to run for the leader,
Yes,
to
sir.
become the leader of the party. On the 11th of this month, which is 2 days from now, we will know whether others are going to be
Correct.
nominated or not, and whether that number from 3 will increase. We don't know as yet, but for now, we are seeing these 3
From the
persons.
grapevine, we are seeing that it will increase, but we are just hoping that it remains a 3. But that is the democracy that we are talking about.
The more
In
the
2 days,
merrier.
we can
The
have-
more the merrier. We want to
That's
see
it.
more. I want to see more. I want to see more. But go ahead, Mr.
Exactly.
MP.
So,
Yeah.
so I am saying, after the 11th of December, when a new leader will be elected, these are the candidates will support, because PNC is far more larger than any individual. PNC is a party, a movement that will take this country to the next level. And that is what we need to work. It is good to debate. It is good to tear up your opponent. It is good to bring your proposal to the light. And this is what the PNC has encouraged all its life. A candidate must bring to the fore what are the plans that he will have for the next 2 years. And this is seen in the international, in the local and international arena. As you know, we're fighting one another. But we have to fight one another. We have to debate. We have to dialogue so that the delegates coming to Congress will select and say, hey, what happened? I am voting for A, B, or C. I am saying that as a PNC, whoever takes this leadership, I will be working with that leader, because the PNC is the party. I am not here to say A, B, or C will win and I will be with this faction or that faction. No, I am campaigning for my team and my leader, and there are others campaigning for their leaders as well, and we wish them well. But we know that at the 11th, on the 11th of December, whoever becomes the leader, all these other teams will continue to pledge their support, because PNC is a big movement that is more than us individually. That is my take, Mark.
And I appreciate that so much. I really do. Let's get back to Mr. Hamilton Green. We have seen some bickering. We have seen some mudslinging and so forth. Something that probably wasn't PNC like back in your days. What is your take on some of the public mudslinging against each other? And what would you probably
Mark,
say about that?
Let me first, Mark, compliment the MP who just spoke. He was succinct, and I can compliment him. Very well put. I couldn't do it better myself. To answer your specific question, let me go to the next level. In a truly democratic institution, as he indicated, it is the right and the opportunity of members to contest. That is the vitality of a truly democratic institution. And I believe it is fair to say, for all my years before independence, that the PNC has been the only party to maintain that characteristic of internal democracy. And I think that will allow us, as the MP just said, to survive and prosper politically at the next period. So this is nothing to worry about. You talked about the public pronouncement. I understand that efforts have been made or are being made, I'm not too sure, to prevail upon the contestants, whoever they may be, that there should be certain rules of conduct, and that to keep the party's matters as an internal matter and not externalize it. I understand that this is quite possible, and I said the MP is quite right. I can do better than what he said a moment ago, and I congratulate him.
All right, well said. 5 minutes after 9 o'clock, that's Eastern Standard Time, 5 minutes after 10 o'clock in Guyana. We don't want to hold up the Honorable former Mayor, Hamilton Green, former Prime Minister, and so forth. It's his birth night. I know Dr. Jennifer Bastille Green is probably looking at you and showing you this. Cut off.
Yes, she's waving frantically.
Cut off,
and
time to go, right?
I understand that she has some cake for me, which I'm looking forward to having.
Yep, I can tell that.
By one of my godsons, a surprise, as I said, and the connivance between he and my wife. A very pleasant surprise luncheon today, and I want to thank him, Dr. Michael Sue, for his really magnificent effort. And Jenny for keeping things together.
Yep, I can tell. I know her so well. Years now I know her, your wife. And I can tell what she was doing there, showing signs, time to come off, time to this. But give her my regards, man. And tomorrow she was in the yard since 5:30 this morning. She's a big farmer these days. And she's fighting against the bad weather we've had. The bad weather indeed. Look, Mr. Green, before we go, I want to refresh your memory. There's a photograph with us protesting in front of the magistrate's court many years ago when those three persons were charged with treason, that trumped up treason charge against Carol Ann Monroe, Bruce Monroe, and the other Army officer. Memories, huh? Memories.
Well, send me a copy of that photograph.
I have lots of photographs. I have more, but I don't want to show the people. I have more with us. Good photographs. Well, we're waiting for you to write that book. What's going on?
I've been delinquent on that, and I would like you to persuade my better half that she needs to anchor that process, because I think, particularly with the nonsense I see happening, that I need to continue that work of writing to set the record straight. Because we need to bequeath to our young generation the realities of life in a colony where there's less than 1 million people and that has been ravaged over the years by the imperial masters, whose attitude to us have not changed.
Has not changed at all. Mr. Green, before we go, I want to give you this opportunity. Your closing remarks, sir. I know it's your birth night. You've got to go. But before we get to your closing remarks, are you optimistic that things are going to go well and the elections at Congress should be held on December 11th, that everything will be transparent, even during this pandemic period, sir? How confident are you?
I believe that the party has overcome crises of one type or another. Because I'm one of those who lived through the late 50s and 60s, I am confident that we shall overcome and become the dominant political entity to lead this country forward in the next period of our national life. And I believe that our effort to bring unity will be successful, and that the young people in and out of Parliament
Sorry about that. Just what we were expecting. The birthday boy for this evening, birthday man, sorry, Mr. Hamilton Green, his internet start. You know what it usually does, and especially in Guyana. Let's see if we have. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, We missed you there for 30 seconds or so. Mr. Hamilton Green, again, on behalf of all of the people who are watching, who are listening to this program, those on the ground, we wish you a happy birthday anniversary. 87 years old. A young man you are. Thank you so much for your service to that entire country. A lot of them great. There were a little bit of little controversy here and there, but it's your birth anniversary. We love you, man. Write that book. Write that book, Hammy. Write that book.
Well, talk to Jenny. She's right here.
I don't know. Another night.
She said, not now, another night, you see. Tell her happy wedding anniversary. Happy wedding. I'll call you guys tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You see? Look. Time to go. Time to go. There goes that hand. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate it. Time to go. That's it.
That's it.
Dr. Jennifer Bastille Green. Time to go. She wants her husband. It's his birth anniversary. They got to go cut that cake. Then tomorrow is the wedding anniversary. They have to cut another cake. Mr. Hamilton Green there for you guys. Mr. Green. You know, one of the things that I want to say, Dinesh, what I want to say about Mr. Hamilton Green is I have been interviewing Mr. Green for years now, over 2 decades now. And no matter how the interview is, whether it's rough, whether it is tough, whatever, Mr. Green answers all of the questions. And after that, Mr. Green will continue to have a normal conversation, regardless of what. That is what I admire about Mr. Green. I can't say that about a lot of so-called politicians or so-called leaders these days. They get vexed with you. They gone in the shell. They puff up their mouth. All kind of things. They don't call you back. They may get time with you. All sorts of things. Your skin thin. And those sort of people are not the people who should be in politics. Those sort of people are not the kind of people who should be running for any form of leadership. And I'm not throwing stone at anybody, any one particular. I'm just talking in general. But some might be listening and the cap may fit them. And so like Bob Marley said, if the cap fits, let them wear it. Mr. MP, we've got to close off now. Your closing remarks, sir, for this evening.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's a pleasure. I am happy to sit tonight with the Honorable Hamilton Green, former Prime Minister, former Minister, former Mayor, someone who has served the people of this country and served the party, our party, my party, People's National Congress, for quite a number of years. It's an honor for me, you know, when you said that put off your program from 8 and come at 9, you know, but it's good. I'm very much pleased that in my time I can sit together with such important guys, such experienced individual, politics and life, to discuss as to what really is happening. So thank you for affording me the opportunity. I must say that we are at a crossroad in Guyana right now, whereby we need to choose the person who will take us to election and take us for the next phase of development in this country. I am encouraging all delegates to vote sensibly. Even though I am representing a team, I'm not bringing that up here tonight. But all of you know me. But I'm saying to all the candidates who are contesting, you give it your best shot. Sell yourself and bring your plans to the fore so that we can be able to, you know what is coming. To the delegates, you have to do the correcting. Mark, thank you very much, buddy. God bless.
Thank you so much for your time. And I appreciate the fact that you forego your show to be here as a guest tonight on Straight Up. Thank you so much. But next Tuesday, we'll return to the Dinesh Diaper Shots show. Member of Parliament representing the PNC. You have been a PNC, like you said, from the day you born, PNC. And so nobody can question you as to your commitment to the party. Nobody can say that you are Johnny come lately. That's all right. I got to go. Thank you so much, Mr. MP. Appreciate your time. All right. Sometimes I get a little bit mischievous. I really do. I get a little bit mischievous because some folks feel as though in order to set their record straight, they got to remind or they got to tell you about some long, long ago story where they went with their great great grandfather, great great grandmother, and all of these things. All of these things. I don't know, man. I'm a little bit mischievous, you know. I've always been that way. I'm kind of like an old man now, and I still feel that I'm a little bit mischievous still, right? I know you guys wanted to talk about some other stuff. We will do that tomorrow, right here on 107.1 FM. Lots of schools going up, man. Lots of contracts. Lots of contracts. Look, I am going to form a company, and I want to be able to bid for contracts as well. I have no experience as a contractor. I've built stuff. I've built relationships. Oops. I've built other stuff, right? But I want to build stuff. I want to build schools. I want to build hospitals. I want to build all these things. I don't just want to own a radio station, you know, that is, forget about that, starved from advertisements and these sort of things and the victimization. I'm not going to talk about the personal victimization here at the station. And I could understand that personal victimization coming from the PPP installed regime. I can understand that. But what I can't understand is the same sort of victimization from people right there in the coalition, people that I went out with my bat and I batted and I batted. Those people aren't easy, man. Trust me, those people aren't easy. So I'm going to cut a little slacks with the guys them who got all that hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts to build things they have never built before. Maybe the coalition should have also done those sort of things to reach out to the small man. And so we get vexed when people are awarded X, Y, and Z. We get vexed. We're upset. We're upset. I don't know. The coalition should have done far more. It's not that they haven't done anything. They have done a heck of a lot. But they should have done far more. The hustlers are out, and the hustlers will do whatever is necessary to survive. My only problem is I don't want the hustlers to pretend as though they mean well politically. They don't mean well politically. It's all about a hustle. That is what it's about. Wayne Peters is saying maybe it's too late. Afras Osman, good evening to you. I do not believe in drinking soup at all. But I will go out and I will form. I notice Lemon, the operator, he's always ready and willing to go. Maybe one of these days we'll fire Lemon, showing me the sign that we've got to go. We've got to go. But before we go, Lemon, maybe we should form some sort of organization that where we're able, a company where we're able to bid for contracts as well. We don't want $346 million alone because that's, you know, we don't want that. We want $1 billion, $2 billion contracts and all these things. Remember how BK became a contractor? BK was basically a nobody. He's a billionaire right now. Sorry I mentioned BK and I didn't say goodnight to my good friend Joseph Harmon, who's yet to call me to come on the show. I mentioned earlier, Mr. Hamilton Green, no matter what you say, no matter what questions you ask him, he's always willing and ready to be interviewed. Kudos to Hamilton Green, man. Kudos. Sad enough, a lot of these politicians, some are running for leadership of the party. They're very thin-skinned. They're very petty. They get vexed really quickly. I wouldn't even dare go near to putting an X to support leaders like that. I'm not calling any particular names. Some of them are running for the leader of the party. Some are running for chairman. Some are running for vice chairman. I don't know. I wouldn't even put my X next to some of those names. That's just my opinion. Happy birthday again to Hamilton Green. Sorry, I just had to be a little mischievous. Here is Hamilton Green. I got to send him some photographs. taken years ago. I still have a lot of photographs there with Hammy. I'll send him maybe as soon as possible. I'll put some of in an album and I'll give it to Hamilton Green. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Hamilton Green, and to all of you, every single one of you who are listening to us. Every single one of you. Every single one of you. Good evening. I can't call all of your names. Colleen Isaacs is saying bench up plumbing. I should start a plumbing company. Bench up the plumber. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Bench up the plumber. God bless you guys. I'll be back tomorrow. Same place, same time. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. And this is for all of you. All of you. You know my favorite song. This is the only song that I can play without copyright infringements. The only song. So I'm going to play it for now. Bye-bye.
Pulling on. I feeling. I feeling.